Arena.
Ground Arena.
SAGA Podcast.
This is where the fun begins.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Space Arena Ground Arena, where we cover Star Wars Unlimited from the ground and up into space. I'm BananaCrapshoot. Ben is under the weather, and Dan is very busy with work, basically working double shifts. So it's just me tonight, but I'm not alone. I have a very special guest. Old Magic Pro Tour player versus System Pro Tour player, the forever North American Continental Star Wars Destiny champion, third grade spelling bee champion of the whole Northeast, and it was second grade flip cup champion, Bobby Sapphire. Thanks for joining us.
What's up? I'm glad some of those were fictional because I never actually made the versus the Magic Pro Tour. I came up short in so many PTQ finals. I think I had something like 16 PTQ top fours in like an 18-month period or something insane, and never cracked it. So thanks for opening that wound.
Yeah, sorry. I was trying to find like a history, and if you search like Mike Gem on YouTube, the first thing that pops up is like a Magic 5K.
Yeah, me and Darwin interview. Yeah, that's I know that because my students find that, and I actually love that interview because I knew Darwin really well, and this is like my first time ever being interviewed, and I always get a lot of good feedback from people being like, "You guys had a lot of charisma," but that's because we knew each other really well. That is funny though. Yeah.
So, for those of you that don't know you, do you mind giving us a little bit of your card game history? I know it's vast, so
my card game history goes back to the 1990s, so I don't know how deep we want to go, but other than some like Magic the Gathering at summer camp, the thing that really got me into cards was the Star Wars customizable card game by Decipher, which like those cards are still all over my house. Like I just have like a whole stack of the white border snow speeders like lying around my house. Played that for a really long time. Some of my friends still play it. Got to be a 2100 ranked player before the end of that game, which ended in 2001. Played some Lord of the Rings, played Versus, went to Magic, like you said. And I had been on kind of a hiatus until I just like went to a Star Wars CCG event and saw the Terwilliger brothers playing some new Star Wars game that had dice. And I was like, what the hell is this game? And they told me about it, and I went home and I started playing it, and I didn't stop. As you said, I won the North American Championship at Gen Con in 2019 with Ewoks, starting the Ewokalypse.
Yup.
But that started like me and my team won Gen Con all 3 years of Destiny. I had like, a really good Worlds run where I was undefeated until the semifinals, the second World Championship. And so I just had a lot of success in that game and did a lot of content, was a podcaster, blogger, video maker. And then the game died, and I kind of faded away into Force Ghost land. But now this game's got me back because there's a new Star Wars game, and I've been playing the Star Wars card game for a really long time, whatever it is.
Well, you didn't disappear completely, right? I mean, you were playing Legion and X-Wing. Like, I know, like, you won, like, a PAX event, and, like, you were winning, like, TTS tournaments and stuff. So, like, you weren't completely gone.
Wow, look at this kid doing his research. Yeah, I was dabbling in miniatures, but it's been a while since I played cards. And honestly, whenever I was playing Destiny, I was playing miniatures to sort of like take a break because Destiny was like a job, and X-Wing like definitely wasn't. I would go to Worlds and Gen Con and I would play Destiny and X-Wing, and that would be like just to keep my mind off Destiny and just have something else to do and enjoy myself. And then Legion I picked up during COVID. Which was great, but it's grueling. So and long. So that kind of faded away as I got further into parenthood. So yeah, I've been gaming a little bit, but not in the way that I plan to approach Star Wars Unlimited.
Well, I would just wanted to say, like, I appreciate all the work you guys did on the Hyperloops for Star Wars Destiny. I mean, daily blogs and videos for like 4 years or something is ridiculous. So
yeah, luckily I had two really great people to split that work with, but I really loved it. It started because there wasn't any content on Destiny. There was just none. It was like a couple podcasts, but I couldn't read anything. And I'm a reader, I'm a writer, so like I wanted to read stuff. So I just started making the stuff that I wanted to read. I'd write it so that I would have, and then like I started engaging with the game. And I find when I do engage with the game via podcast or making videos that I get better because I'm thinking about it more constructively than just like ramming a game and maybe like going and watching a show or doing something else. So being reflective, making changes, building on things, like that's what helped me be so good. Like, or not be so good. So this is kind of like egomaniacal, but like have that success and be working with people who want to approach the game that way.
Got it. I guess real quick. So, what's your brief history with Star Wars? Like, what was your first introduction to Star Wars? What's your favorite movie? Like, who's your favorite character?
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't really remember the first time I watched it, but I remember having all the toys when I was real little, like 4 or 5 years old, and I had a lot of the Ewok village and stuff. So I just must have loved Return of the Jedi, which like it was made for kids. So there you go. I saw the re-releases in the '90s when I was in high school, and kind of fell in love with them a little bit. Like they'd always been part of my life because, like I said, I've been playing the card game, but like the special editions, not the special, were they the special editions? Yeah, the special editions when they were in theaters, that was like really big for me to like really re-engage. And Empire, my all-time favorite movie of any film ever, my favorite screenplay, my favorite directed movie. Like it's just the best. Character-wise, I guess Obi-Wan, like he's just the man. I love all versions of the Obi-Wan, the cartoon ones, the Ewan McGregor one especially, and then of course the OG Alec Guinness. Just loved Obi-Wan. He's my speed, especially now as an as an old man.
Yeah.
Really feel that. But yeah, just love it. I mean, Star Wars is I've got. I changed my pants, but I have like a big Millennium Falcon belt buckle I wear to school every day, and everyone's always like Millennium Falcon, and I'm like, it's actually pronounced Falcon, just to be
There you go.
that dad. Yeah,
And it's Han, not Han, right? So
yeah, right. I'm not only in Lando World, only on Bespin.
yeah. So I guess just moving forward a little bit, you've been successful in a lot of games, right? Minis games, card games. What are some things that you think you can take between game to game to game, or what qualities or things do you do that allow you to be successful in all these multiple games?
I think the biggest thing is just being open-minded to what people are telling me about the game, not really necessarily going in alone. I don't think I'm a great solo flyer where I'm just going to figure out the game by myself. So like surrounding myself with good people, which is what I'm kind of looking at with Unlimited, playing with my brother and playing with a couple hyperloopers, and then the guys I played the old school Star Wars CCG game with. So putting myself in a position to be around smart people who also want to play and be competitive and think about the game constructively. And then the other thing is just like playing with like process oriented play, where make sure I make the right plays, even if it means like rewinding a little bit once in a while, to make sure that the outcomes are true, so that like I understand why I lose games and I understand why I win games, and putting like the process of the game above winning. I think, unless it's a tournament, I'm really just focused on why did this win, what's going to win versus what, and then tournament day making the best decision possible and just being like playing as tight as possible, like mechanically. So I think like just those fundamentals, those 3 big fundamentals of playing mechanically sound, being open to losing and understanding why you lost, and surrounding myself with good people would be the thing that I think has helped me the most, on this 30-year journey. It wasn't always like that. I used to be a sore loser when I was younger, and I had to learn from being that.
Do you think there's something that you think is like your weakness when it comes to card games? Is there like a blind spot you have, or like
leaks? I don't know. I spent a lot of time trying to hone those leaks. I think one of my biggest leaks has always been that mode you get in when you think you know a deck really well, and you kind of go into autopilot, and you're not being process oriented, and you're not learning. You're going through the motions. I found that sometimes before big events, especially with the original Star Wars CCG game, that if I had played a deck too much, I just wasn't as locked in as I should be, and I kind of like took all my practice for granted. And I think that's one thing I tried not to do in Destiny, is like have that leak and always stay engaged. But sometimes I'll be more diverse with my gameplay decks now, so I don't get burnt out on one deck or fall into that trap, or I try to be at least.
Got it. I had a question and I lost it. What do you
I'm so
think?
loquacious.
Yeah. What about? So like Star Wars Destiny died, right? You go away, right? Become a Force ghost, and then the announcements for Star Wars Unlimited comes. What are your thoughts when you hear that announcement? FFG's making another Star Wars card game. Like, what are your initial thoughts in May 2023 when the press release comes out?
Shared it with some people, thought it was cool, put a tab in it, but pretty much said to myself, I'm not going down that road again.
At what point did that change for you?
It changed for me when I go on this annual dinner at like a fancy steakhouse in Boston with my two best friends, the OGs that we played the original game with, and I said like, all right, I'm gonna cut out a couple decks and bring them. And that's exactly how I got them into Lord of the Rings TCG way back in the day. Was like just showed up with some, maybe it was Versus System, but I just like showed up at our house and with the decks. And I was like, we're learning this game. And we played, so we went to dinner, we played all night, we woke up, we played for 14 hours or whatever straight. And we only had 2 decks. And that's when I was like, okay, these guys are in, I'm in, because those are my day one guys. So I'm going to do anything with them. And if they're with me, then that makes playing a game like this a lot easier.
So you went to dinner with 2 proxy decks and played those 2 decks for 14 hours? Like
basically just like rotating between the 3 of us jamming. It might've been 12 hours, but it was a lot of time. And we didn't bring them to dinner. We showed up in the morning, we played all day. We went to dinner, talked about the game, came home, played the game more.
Got it.
I think we stayed up till like 2 a.m. Yeah.
What is it about Star Wars Unlimited that like now draws you in, or like is it the mechanics? Right, there's obviously an IP and theme thing there, but like what about the card game do you think makes this like a good card game?
I think the thing that the vision I have of it from having played CCGs for 30 years is that I see all the games they're drawing from, and this game has very few mechanics that are completely unique to it. It's almost like it took every great mechanic from every other game and put it into one game. There's inspiration from even recent games like Flesh and Blood, but the WoW TCG, Destiny, Magic. I could probably like Versus Systems in there. I don't think there's any Lord of the Rings TCG in there, but there's just a lot. It's just drawing from a ton of games, using any card as a resource. That's so big. But the Destiny going back and forth action, that's so big. Having a sideboard, having a champion, having a location. There's just all these elements that they've taken to create one really cool game, and it's something that I think a lot of people have wanted to do or try to do, but haven't been able to capture it.
Space arena, ground arena, 2 arenas, 2 lanes.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the
Young Jedi? It feels like Young Jedi, I think it's cool. I think it's a great way to incorporate ships and units into one game. And honestly, that's what the original Star Wars CCG did, right? It had locations on the ground and it had planets, and you had to juggle that. You could play a deck where in that game where neither player had any space, but it was rare because it always behooved you to have like 1 or 2 ships in a system in case the other deck didn't have space. So like that dance is something that I've found really in just like fun about Star Wars Unlimited. Is I think one of the fundamental things about learning how to win with aggro is like going to where your opponent isn't, and that's like it's a really cool idea of being like, all right, well, I don't have to play on this space. If I'm going to lose here, I can try and make it elsewhere. And I love that aspect of it. I've really enjoyed the balance of trying to figure out which arena I should be in, when to switch arenas, and if I can I make my opponent think I'm in this arena, but really be in the other arena. I think it's just an interesting part of the game that like puts the player in the game, and it's not just the cards.
What are your thoughts on attack your initiative? Right, like some games you say, hey, I'm attacking, and then you can decide to block with like any creature or unit. In this game, the attacker decides where the attack goes most of the time. Do you prefer that?
I mean, I haven't really given it much thought. I think it's fine. Like, it's cool. They have to make things a little bit different from other games. I don't know. I think no, that's an element from Versus System. It reminds me of like where you could just attack anybody, and maybe you had flights, you could go to the back row or whatever. But I really loved Versus System, so I haven't really clocked that aspect of being something wholly different from what I've already done. I think it's interesting, and I think it makes for a lot of, again, like just like the balance between space and ground, just having to like, when do I attack base and when do I attack units? And I think there was some of that in, like, I played Lorcana a little bit recently, and like playing like the decks that I played was like, okay, I really want to be face, but I need to like clear the ground enough for me to face them and attack their base and attack their life total and win. So I just think that adds another element of balance that I really like about the game.
Yeah. When, as a player that's experienced in, various card games, when you come to a new card game and like you're looking through like SWODB and you're looking through like, how do you evaluate like what's trash and what's not, right? Like, what are the things you look for? Is it knowing the cards, knowing the center, like do you try to put the pieces together when you see the cards to see what they're going for? Like, what is it you're looking for people new to the game that maybe aren't great deck builders and are looking at net deck? What's some of the things you look for?
Yeah, it's tough because like the hot list on I never heard it, SWODB, that's nice. The top lists on that, they haven't changed, like they haven't changed at all. So where do you even go to get deck lists? You click on these videos, they don't necessarily have the deck lists posted. I think one thing you can do is like watch videos of decks being played, see the cards that you clock being good, see the cards that you think maybe not being good. Hit up those content creators in the content creator feedback area and say like, hey, would you share that list? I think finding players that you trust is really great. But I think the best thing you can do if you have the ability to get some games is just play with some cards and not necessarily worry about where you get the deck or if the deck is trash. If you're spending time, and like if you're just a casual player, like you can really do whatever. You can build the guys you like and iterate by like playing games and seeing what didn't work. But if you want to be competitive, and there are no events, for a whole year, basically, or like whatever, there's going to be smaller events, but who knows if those deck lists will get published or like how many there'll be, whatever. But like the best thing you can do is look at the numbers on the cards. Like, should you be playing a 3/3/5 drop? Probably not, because there are 5/5 5 drops. So like, you need to have some basic understanding of what's out there and not play things that are just going to get automatically smushed by everything. I've been getting a lot of crap lately because I've been playing with Wampa, but I'm like, well, Wampa's a 4/5/4 drop. There's not so many of those, so like, yeah, I'm gonna play it, but at least I have a reason that that's above stats, and I think that's just a very easy thing to say. Like, well, there aren't a lot of 4/5/4 drops, so let me run that.
Right.
So looking at the number of the cards and like looking at a deck list is tough. I've always been a person that like, I don't care much about the deck list because the way you play a card might be different than the way I play a card. And like, you should really get comfortable with the cards that you play. And there are times where people tell me I played a really bad card and they think I should have replaced it. But like, I know the situations where I want that card and I know the situations where I like that card. So having that experience and like trying it out is the best thing to do. And, we're speaking on a day when most of the community, from what I've seen, really hates the card that got spoiled today. And I think it's one of the best cards that's been spoiled yet. So like, don't necessarily take everyone's word for it. You got to go play the cards, which, I don't think that fairly answers your question because you're asking like what I can do when I look at a deck list. But I just don't think if you want to be good at the game or you want to get better at the game, looking at a deck list is going to cut it. I don't have any rule for how many 2 drops I want, or 3 drops. I think it depends on the deck. I think some decks might want to skip 2 a lot and use the energy conversion lab to play a 3 drop and kill their 2 drop and be a little bit ahead, maybe with the Sentinel unit. So I think there's a lot of different things that you can do to learn about the game, but looking at a deck list, probably not number one. But if you're competitive, find the ones that are winning and try them out and figure out why they won.
Have you tried draft or sealed at all yet? Like,
I haven't. I'm really just trying to get on board with the mechanics. I think I love draft. I love sealed. I just love limited play, and I always have. And I can't wait to do it. But right now, I'm focused on just getting better at the game, and I'm not really interested in using like packs that don't at all represent what the distribution might be like. I prefer, as much as I love playing online, I really don't prefer limited online with without an official client that is taking steps to make sure that the distribution within the packs is legit. And I'm sure people have it fairly close, but like I don't think very many packs have been open, so I don't know how much people really know about that distribution.
right.
But I'm sure it's fun.
There was at PAX Unplugged, there was a community draft. The guy that does the SWU Holocron like wiki used the pull rate data from their articles and like printed a bunch of proxies off, and like there was like an 8-player community draft at PAX Unplugged, like
Oh, that's cool.
with proxies. Yeah,
That's
fun.
going deep. I like that, and like I'm really excited to draft. I bought boxes. I'm more of a singles buyer, so like I bought boxes basically just to draft, and I'm really looking forward to it. But I think, yeah, I'm just enjoying learning the game right now and trying to get better and seeing lines of play, because the back and forth mechanic is so complicated that it's really tough to see ways that you're going to lose sometimes.
How many boxes are you in for? Like you signed up for a pre-release yet? Like,
I don't think I've seen any pre-release signups. I've gotten a few boxes. My group has several cases coming, so we'll have many a draft. But again, I'm in for a few boxes, but I want singles. Like I plan on buying singles. I prefer to like find someone who sells a common and uncommon set, buy it, buy all the leaders that I want to play. Massachusetts in general doesn't have a massive live play community. It didn't for Destiny. I don't know if it'll have it for Unlimited. So I imagine most of my gaming will be on TTS, and hopefully I have a local game night where I can have like 1 or 2 decks and then buy whatever I need for whatever big event that I want to fly to.
yeah. I lost it again, man. It's just you talk and then I lose.
I can't
like I think of
stop.
something.
I know.
I think
I'm
of
so excited
something.
I'm so excited to talk cards. It's been so long.
Well, it's just like I think of something, like you say something, it's like, oh, okay, I want to ask about that, and then it's like, then I forget.
You should have not for nothing. You should have a notepad with some pens, with some writing utensils around. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I remembered. So
Good.
the sequencing, right? The back and forth.
Yes.
They pulled that
that's a good
from
word for it.
Destiny. Do you think it is as linear? Like at Destiny, is it as straightforward, or does it add more depth than like how it did in Destiny? Do you get what I'm
I think
asking?
it's way more complicated now than in Destiny. I thought Destiny was pretty straightforward. There were only so many things that could happen in any certain window. So
Right.
and the
Decks were
dice-
smaller.
decks
Right.
were smaller. You had your characters. They're the only things that could do damage. So like you had dice, and those dice could do damage, but you were so limited in terms of like the mechanics of those dice. You know, you had a shield, you had damage. This is Unlimited, you have sentinels in space, sentinels on the ground, shields here, heroes here. There's just a lot more going on, a lot more sources of damage and attack vectors that you can take. Then the sequencing just makes it difficult to see every single avenue when, one color has cards that can come into play untapped, right? So they're ready to attack. And if you didn't secure a spot for you to attack it, you might just lose. And that's not something that was in Destiny. Destiny, you knew like this guy's got to roll out, and then I get a chance to remove his dice if there's no action cheating. There was a progression there, and it was simple. You knew how most turns were going to play out mechanic wise. Play a card, resolve a die. that was that was really it.
That was it. Yeah.
So this is just so many more aspects.
It happened again. This is ridiculous.
I say many words when few will do.
Disturbing.
True. We're talking about sequencing. We're talking about
I know
going back and forth.
I'm a terrible host. This is not going well.
Fix it in post.
Yeah. I just need to
start messing with like pitches and stuff to cover that.
Yeah. Do you find like the soft mitigation, I will call it, like the exhaust effects, as effective as like a direct removal effect? Like,
not in all situations, but I think like tempo decks we've already seen tempo decks be really successful. Specifically, just any cunning deck that's going to run like Waylay, I mean that's almost like a hard removal, with how few units can get played in a turn, especially early, and how easy it is to brick wall smaller units. But something like No Good to Me Dead, Leia, Cunning, like these are all cards that I'm very interested in and have been playing a lot. And I've found the tap down when you are able to buy time to one of your big plays or keep your guys alive so they can attack in and you can finish a game. Amazing. And then like especially when, and I kind of mentioned this earlier, but like when I'm angling to be in both arenas and really putting my opponent in a position to not be able to stop both arenas at once. And of course some cards can do this. Barrage, whatever it's called, the green 5-cost card.
Yeah.
Dooku. Vader has some aspect of this in a little bit, but he doesn't as well handle both arenas, but he can pull like the 2-drop yellow ship that taps a guy, right? Like, so he does have some play there, but by positioning myself to be in both arenas and try and just get in at one of them, tapping has really helped.
do you think there's something, as you've looked at and started engaging more with the community, do you think there's something that the community overall is missing, like an aspect of the game or a mechanic that I run the Facebook group and the Discord with the help of a good mod team, right? Like Inception, Jack, and Gandork.
Legends,
right?
True
so
legends.
Sometimes I think you can get like a group think happening because it's such a small amount of like what the overall player base will be, that you get these people in this group think can start happening. So I'm just curious, as you're starting to engage more with the community, do you see that? Is there a group think that you like don't agree with, or you think should be going a different way?
I think people are playing some decks differently than I would play them, but sometimes those things just have to unlock, both for me and them. I know I played Wu from Late Night Gaming. Mm-hmm. I had been really doing well with my green Luke deck, really not losing too much. And he played me with the cunning Boba Fett, the mono yellow Boba Fett. And the way he played against me was not like anyone had played against me. And he unlocked that deck for me. And I've been successful playing with that deck now because I was able to see what someone else could find. And I think there's a lot of that in the game. If you play with good players, you're going to unlock things by playing against them, understanding why you lost. So I think there's some of that. I think some of the card evaluation is a little ridiculous, specifically the Alliance Dispatcher, which seems like obviously it has very narrow spot. It's a very narrow card for a 1/2. But one spot where it has an amazing look is Luke Skywalker, who can give it a shield before you can do anything about it. Right. Unless you really want to ECL your 2-drop to kill my 1/2, which you may. But like, I think as Luke Skywalker, I'm happy if you did that. As good as that guy is, like, you waste arguably the best card in the game, definitely the best base in the game to kill a 1-drop. Like, by all means, I'll take that trade every time. So like, I think that card's really good. And most of what I've heard, and like, I honestly try not to go into the Discord or the Facebook that much because I don't think the public community culture in these discords of games is healthy. I've found myself more and more not going into public discords because I just don't find, like, right now, I think if I went in there and tried to explain that to people, a lot of people would yell at me just to yell at me, which is fine, but I don't want to live like that. So like, I've heard in my private discords what people are saying, and I'm sure there are people who think the card is good, but it seems like there's a lot of people who think it's bad. And I just think they're all doing it without having played it or really thought about the ways that it could be good. So like, I think that's one aspect of it. I don't know if I mentioned this or not, but like, I think people are doing like Han decks differently than my team's doing. And I think like people could think a little bit more outside the box of what that ability can do for you. But globally, I think it's tough because we're in the preseason and there's so many people making content, and like I'm starting to make content too. And, a lot of people want to have a voice and have that voice be heard, and they want to be right. But it's tough when there's no events. The thing that made the Hyperloops jump off more than anything is that when the first event happened, Gen Con, 450 people, me and Joe came in first, second. That's the thing that vaulted. Like, we were just another content site until that happened. And then that gave us a pretty authoritative voice and the community that people wanted to tap into, because that was such a massive event. And for like, you had to go X and 1, to make day 2, because it was so huge. And so to do that, we're not going to have that in Unlimited for a very long time. There's not going to be a big event for a really long time. So it's a lot of people trying to yell loud, which is like just what the internet is. So I don't think anyone's necessarily doing something wrong, but I think like most cases in life, we can all be a little more open-minded, which isn't really healthy for like having hot takes, but it's probably going to make you a better Unlimited player.
There's only room for hot takes on the internet.
How many questions did I make you forget in that response?
At least 7. At least 7. Talking about hot takes.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. Share.
Oh, wow. I can see your screen.
Yeah. All right. So first one that's up. Can you see it still, or is it?
No, it's still loading for me. You can tell me what it's going to be.
So the first one up is it's Jabba the Hutt. Okay.
Ooh,
so
Jabba.
4 cost, cunning, villainy, ground unit, 2 power, 8 attack. Each trick event you play costs 1 less. And when played, search the top 8 cards of your deck for a trick event, reveal it, draw it, and then the others go at the bottom of your deck. What does Bobby Sapphire, Mike Gem think about Jabba the Hutt?
Oh, I love this guy. I love everything he's doing. I love his huge ass. I love that he makes things cost cheaper. Cost cheaper. I sound like a real English teacher right now. I love that he pulls something, but like the tricks costing 1 less is nuts. Obviously there aren't a lot of tricks right now, and there are a lot of good tricks, but like I feel super comfortable running this as a 2 of in my command Boba Fett deck and a 3 of in my cunning Boba Fett deck, just because it pulls 2 amazing cards. And like I'm only going to run shoot first and waylay unless something great comes out, and like if I miss, but like I also could have those in my hand. So like I'm not, getting 1 is awesome, but I'm not going to put bad cards in to just hit on Jabba.
Right.
But like if you kill something with shoot first, you get to like add, like if you've spent mana, like you get to untap a resource essentially. Like it's free. That thing's free, and Boba untaps it. So like that's awesome. Waylay for 2 is incredible. This guy, sometimes you have to chip away at guys because like leaders have a lot of defense. What is the defense value? Is it called toughness? It's not called toughness, right?
It's
it
health.
Defense?
It's just health.
It's health.
Yeah.
I never know what these games use.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of health, and so do the leaders. So he's great to chip away. He can do 4-6 damage to a leader before he dies. And like, yeah, that's making the game go slow, but hopefully you don't have to do 6 damage, but like getting in for 4 on a leader, like that's really great. He's a guy that you don't have to attack with. You can take initiative instead. And when he does get his 2 in there, I mean, that's awesome. And, we all know how few 4 drops there are in the game. So like this filled that gap, and maybe a better 4-drop will come out in yellow or greenville and kick him out of Boba Fett decks, or maybe he becomes a one of in a Boba Fett command deck. But like right now, there's nothing for 4, and just like you might see better cards than him come out in that slot, we're going to see more tricks, and as more tricks come out, this guy's just going to get better. So I love everything about him. I love the potential, and I love what he's already doing.
I think it's ridiculous the amount of health he has. Like
It's
8
insane.
health on a 4-drop unit is ridiculous.
How long
Like,
did Leia have to choke him for? Like how much did they cut away from in Return of the Jedi? Like that's a lot. That's
probably like 3 minutes
several.
of.
I guess like she attacks for 4, right? So 2 hits into Jabba, she really owns him.
Yeah, there you go. But like, if my opponent plays Jabba, like he's not that threatening of a unit, but he is, right? So then I got to sink a lot of resources into removing Jabba because I know the waylay for 2's coming or the shoot first for free's coming. So it's like he's not a threat, but he is threatening. Like I think
Yeah,
he's
and you
solid.
almost like you don't want to waylay him because they can just like replay him if they're like have a lot of mana, which Boba Fett can tend to do, and just get them like more card advantage. So there's just really no way to deal with him. A lot of the time, I just ignore him, and that's when he chips away at something or contributes to a kill, while staying on the board. So I just really like him. I think he's solid. I'm not sure he's exactly what Boba always wants to be doing, but like when you've got nothing else to do, I don't think a Boba player is ever like, damn, I got to play Jabba now.
Right. I get it. I'm there with you. Next up, we have a 1-cost upgrade, double Vigilance Protector. Attach unit gains Sentinel, and it gives +1 power and +1 health. What are your
Personally,
thoughts on
I think these upgrades are just rough because I mean this is a low cost, but cards are still like cards in hand are still a premium, and there's just too much bounce and removal, and the +1/+1 isn't really doing enough. And you're also like because he's whoever gets this is Sentinel, they're going to be attacking this. I think it's a nice little trick if you really need Sentinel for some anti-aggro. Maybe if you're some mono blue aggro, like this is kind of a cute play where like you attack, they attack, and then you throw this on something, and now they can't attack your base. So like I think there's room for it to be good, but it's just like I think it's a sideboard card at best, a draft card, which is tough because it's double blue. But I just don't see this being like a competitive play. But I think it has some applications that, people might want in their decks given the right situation.
I don't really have anything too much else to add. I'm not a huge fan of it. I don't see a spot for it currently, but
Yeah, I try and think about things only competitively. And, I could see if I'm mono blue in draft, like I'm probably running this. But otherwise, it's not an ability I necessarily am looking for.
right. Moving on, we have the Frontline Shuttle. It's a 2-cost command space unit, 1 power, 3 health. Action: defeat this unit. Attack with a unit, even if it's exhausted. It can't attack bases for this attack.
Yeah, I really like the idea of this card. I've had trouble fitting it into decks and getting it on the table. I mean, it's a tough ability to evaluate, but the thing I love most about it is there's so many games that I play where people are taking initiative early, right? Like they need to do this so they can, like an aggro deck is going to do this so they can get their first attack and like 6 you out of nowhere or something and finish you off. And what I love about Frontline Shuttle is that it's an awesome post initiative taken ability. They don't think that you can kill any other guys, so they take initiative so they can untap and smoke you, and you drop this thing for 2, and all of it, it's essentially an event. It's just a slow event, but when your opponent's already taken initiative, you have all the time in the world. So being able to drop this and get another attack out of like Slave 1 or like
An
a Bosk or
ATST.
something, ATST, especially ATST where it has overwhelm. I just think that there's a lot of opportunity for this to wreck people post claim, where the board is what it is. A lot of times, people have tapped all but two resources. All their units are exhausted. I'm safe to claim. Like I like this ability. I wish those situations were so prevalent that I felt like I could use this all the time, but I think it's something that we're all just going to sleep on until we see it blow someone out, and then we're like, damn, We all knew that they could do that, but we didn't believe.
Star Wars Unlimited has a few of these cards where they're like low cost units, but they're like late game effects, in my opinion. Yeah. And this is one of them where this is a cheap unit, but really you want to play it like round 7 when you have like an ATST in play with Overwhelm, right? Like you said, I think this pairs really well with Overwhelm. Since you can't attack the bases, you can still push through the base. But yeah, it's like a late game combo card. So I think
and great as a resource, and great if you play against like a deck that is like turn 1 TIE Fighter go, and you're like, oh well, I can just do this, I guess.
Yeah. So I like it. I'm excited to see what plays people come up for.
Yeah, it just keeps not making the cut barely for me.
Next up, we have Wolf. Aggression 2 cost, ground unit, 3 power, 2 health as the Saboteur keyword, and when played /on attack, bases can't be healed for this phase.
Yeah, I think this guy's great. I've seen a lot of talk that he's a sideboard only card, but I got to tell you, the more cards that come out, I think he's totally an auto include if you're really low to the ground aggro, especially something like, I think like, there's a case for not having him as your early play in Leia because he's not Rebel. But, other than that, he's Saboteur, so he can kill the shielded 1-drop, that the dispatcher, the Alliance dispatcher. So he's one of the few things that can kill that thing immediately, even if it has the shield. And his ability to not let things heal, like aggro is so good. Like Leia and Sabine, they're so good against most decks that a lot of decks are just playing main deck restore. There's a lot of decks out there that play restore. Like I play the Star Viper in most of my decks. Most of my decks are command, and I play Star Viper in almost all of them because of how great that combination of Energy Conversion Lab is with that to take an early initiative, kill a ship, and gain life, and then like probably not die back so I can gain life again. And something like Wolf just blows out that play. It only takes, aggro's precarious, and I don't love the position of aggro in this game. So like any healing that you can stop is great.
Yeah, I think stuff like Sabine and like an aggressive Boba Fett deck, the really good counters, right, are going to be shields and healing. So as a direct counter to the counter, it's a little worrisome, I guess.
Yeah, I just think this is exactly what you want.
Yeah, I think he's a good unit. All right. Next up, we have Power of the Dark Side. 3 cost, Vigilance Villainy. Event: an opponent chooses a unit they control. Defeat that unit with some kick-ass artwork.
Yeah, the artwork's cool. Love anytime Vader has the red reflection going. I love this card. I think it's so strong. I think it like single-handedly vaulted, blue villain control into the top tier just by being here. It's so easy for those decks, especially the green ones, to trade down to 1 unit, and then you drop this. Like people think it's safe to activate their leader on an empty board, and they just get wrecked. So I think this card's great. I think it's exactly what villain control needed.
I think 3 costs for a card that basically says delete something is pretty ridiculous, right? Like,
yeah, it's something you always got to play around, and those control decks are going to be eliminating guys. Like it's their prerogative to do that. So
yeah, I think it's really strong. It terrifies me. As someone that's been playing like a lot of like more aggressive decks, and like recently my thing's been like Grand Inquisitor, so like Power of the Dark Side kind of frightens me.
Yeah, well, someone who's been like haunting 3 drops into play on turn 1.
Yeah,
like what the hell?
I like haunting in like a 7-drop Luke on turn 5. That's like the dream.
Yeah,
for me.
Yeah, I've been doing a little more aggro. Trying to do it earlier, get some crazy board positions.
Power of the Dark Side, delete. Next up, we got Chopper, the Metal Menace, 1 cost brownie unit. Cunning, Heroism, 1 power, 3 health. While you control another Spectre, it gets raid 1. and then on attack, discard a card from the defending player's deck. If it's an event, you get to ice one of their resources.
Yeah, I've seen Chopper do that, and I thought it was going to be backbreaking, but the Chopper deck still lost, so it wasn't as good as I thought it would be. And it's also Spectre Unit, which is tough because it's not like I almost think that's too restrictive. I think he should just attack for 2 in like a Hera deck. Presumably, they're not going to make every Spectre a leader, So I would have liked to see him get raid 1, even if the Hera leader was in play. So I think he's in a rough spot. I don't think he's amazing, but yeah, he's got some play. I think he'd be sick in draft, but if I open this as my rare, I'm probably not like super hyped.
I can hear this card. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yes,
I see the visual and I hear, clanking down.
Yeah,
like
it's
I hear it.
It's like when you see like a still from the X-Men theme song. Like you know what that sound is.
Yeah. All right. Next up, Rallying Cry. 3 cost, double aggression. Event, each friendly unit gains raid 2 this phase. Gandork did clarify those units have to be in play. When this is played, anything you play after that does not get the raid 2 buff.
Damn you, Gandork. Yeah, this is rough just because it's so easy to take units off the board. Like one of the things you mentioned when you were asking me about the mechanics for attacking, like if your opponent plays this, you're just going to immediately take out one thing if you can. If not, like overplay your hand and reveal your bomb and take out a couple things. So I don't think boards go wide enough at this point in the game for that to be good. But if there is a point where decks can get really wide and get to have like 5 units on board, and then I could see this being really good because it's going to be harder for them to trade. It represents something like 6 to 8 extra damage. But the fact that it doesn't have like any mechanic where you can automatically attack with it happening, it's just too slow.
Yeah, I think if this works for you, I think it's probably a win more card at that point. And you're probably going to win anyway. So
yeah, and unless it's just like really aggro mirrory and you have to win the race, I could see that being good. Like both aggro players are just like not attacking each other's units and they're just racing. Then this is like sort of being a trump card. Like if both players think they're the beatdown.
Yeah. Who's the beatdown? I don't know.
Exactly.
Next up, we have the Occupier Siege Tank, 5 cost aggression ground unit, 5 power, 4 health with grit.
There's just like so few 5-drops, 4 and 5 drops. It's a vehicle. I love that it's Imperial, but it's also doesn't have a hero or villain connotation. So it's another card that like gets a little bit better with Wedge. If you were to play like a red-green kind of Wedge deck, but I don't think it's anything special. I think 4 health is not where you want to be for a 5-drop. So I think just so many things kill it. I think 4 is such a baseline attack value that I'm not really looking to play anything that has 4 toughness for that cost.
I think this
without
is
anything special.
Right. I think this is like a draft sealed card.
Yeah.
Right. You need a 5-drop. You take this.
Yeah.
Because I
agree. It depends on how fast draft is, but yeah, I agree. It's pretty medium.
In Constructed, I think you play this, it just gets deleted. You never get any value out of the grit 90% of the time.
Yeah, there would have to be something that makes Imperial vehicle or tank better for me to want to consider this. But, one thing I do love about this game is like these little keywords are everywhere. Unit, ground, tactic, trick, specter, Imperial vehicle, tank. There's design space for something like this to come out of the woodworks and be great when you have a hero that says all tanks are +2/+2,
Mm-hmm. That's something where like Wedge would give it a buff, Veers would give it a buff, but
yep. But if those things stack or they made something that targeted one of these traits rather, I think like you said, it's a draft coaster right now, but it has room.
This is the last page. First up, we have Karabas, 2-cost event. Spectre traded so you can play it in a hero deck, even off aspect without the penalty. It's aggression, heroism. And then friendly unit deals damage to an enemy unit equal to the amount of damage on the friendly unit +1.
Yeah, and I think like Hera is a good spot for it because like mono green hero doesn't really have removal, right? And this can do that. I don't actually hate this card as much as other people seem to, because I think there are spots like that, like green where you have big units, and you want to remove a unit. Like you're not trying to be aggro, but like in a red aggressive deck, when you're not really trying to interact with opponents' units, I don't think it's as good. But it still can clear the way out for a Sentinel. Like that friendly unit +1 is just not bad, and it's cheap, and it allows you to like on turn 4 play this and still play a 2-drop and potentially get in past a Sentinel. So I don't think it's that bad if there's a spot for it. Like I think the ability's decent.
The ability's decent, yeah. I think it needs the right deck, like you said. I think maybe like a Hero Blue that wants to play a bunch of big butt units maybe get some value out of this. But yeah, like you said, Command doesn't really have removal other than like Strike True and now this. So definitely helps if you're doing like a mono ECL Hero deck.
Yeah, it's just tough to like keep damage on a unit and not have it die. You know?
Yeah.
We're always trading and clearing the way, so it's probably just a draft card.
Next up, we have Regional Sympathizers, 4-cost heroism, ground unit, 3 power, 4 health, restore 2.
Yeah, I mean, another card I like with Wedge, but like restore 2 is a premium, but these stats are rough. Like you get that same stat line on Ezra for 3 cost in the same color. So, oh wait, it's not even a vehicle.
No, it's not a vehicle. It's just a rebel.
I'm just like looking at it, assuming it's a vehicle. It's not even a vehicle. Yeah. I don't. Again, I think this is just another draft card. I don't see a spot for it because of its stat line.
Yeah, I agree. Draft card. Maybe a Leia deck, because I would get some value out of the Rebel if you need restore, but I don't see that happening really.
It's just a lot. It's just a lot of it's a high cost for that. But I guess if its body is a bit bigger in an aggro mirror, and you just like hope they're not playing K2 or they whiff on K2, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, the restore makes it a little interesting, but I think it's mostly draft.
Last one we have to look at is the Alliance Dispatcher, the 1-cost ground unit, command, heroism, 1 power, 2 health, and it has the action. Play unit from your hand, it costs 1 less.
Yeah, I mean, as I mentioned, I think this guy's great. I think he's really great in Luke. I don't know if he's great anywhere else, but playing this on 1, giving it a shield, makes it really hard for him to kill unless you have Saboteur. And then, I played it some games today. I actually have some recorded games with it going up, a best of 5, where he came into play a lot. And, my brother was playing him, putting the shield on him, and then next turn either like playing a Kanan on turn 2, so 4/5 on 2, which is like brutal. It's why I play Wampa and Han, and or he played Yoda and put the shield on Yoda, and it's like I had the 2/4 Saboteur with Raid 2, and I'm like, I don't even know which one to kill. Do I kill Yoda or do I kill the 1-drop? And I killed Yoda, and it was wrong because then he played like Obi-Wan in 2 turns, or he played like Wedge into Obi-Wan. And I'm just like, okay, right. I'm just completely getting obliterated every single drop because I didn't kill the 1/2.
That's where I think he's very interesting. Is I haven't played with him yet. I haven't played any games today, but you play this, and your opponent has to make a choice, right? Like you were presented with today. Do I kill the 1-drop, or do I worry about another threat and let him go? And then you do that, and then he just enables a bigger threat, right? So it's like a huge, if you don't take him out, you're going to lose the tempo game.
And I happen to be playing a deck with a great Saboteur, but like a lot of decks don't have a great Saboteur. And so like if I was not playing that, I can't remember that guy's name, but if I wasn't playing that 2/4 with Saboteur, like I wouldn't even have a choice. I would have to like, like just make a bad play, like put a shield, like take the shield off and still attack him next turn, and he's still putting other guys with shields out or having guys that are even bigger than mine. Because like if it was Kanan, that Kanan is going to kill my Saboteur.
And then he's going to heal his base. And...
Right, he's going to heal his base. He's going to put a shield on Kanan. It's just like it just enables so much in that one deck. He might only show up in that one deck, but I think he's going to be big in that deck. Because any other situation where he doesn't have a shield, it's just too easy to kill him.
Yeah. Even if he doesn't have the shield, though, he still presents the problem for the opponent, that they have to deal with it. And if they most times are going to attack down into it, like, you probably take that trade most of the time.
Yeah, I think you're happy. I think you're happy to get it off the board for sure. But I think the Luke player is also happy that you had to do that.
Yeah, for sure. I think also in Draft and Sealed, this is going to be a fun card to have.
Yeah, and it's a common, which is like bonkers, you know, like
yeah.
Yeah.
That was it for the cards. You get out of that. We did have some listener questions.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. First one was from Nerd Parker, who built and maintains the SWU DB.
Shout out.
He asked, what non-mirror match do you think will be the most fun and the most tense?
The most fun and most tense non-mirror match. I would say it's got to be some aggro versus non-aggro. Like probably a rebel, a command. No, sorry, an aggression Leia versus like a green Luke. Like, it has the health. Can it get to redemption? Can it heal enough to outpace you? Like, those are the kind of matchups I find that are the most tense. I find that, like, the aggro versus Boba Fett matchup, the Boba Fett is just too advantaged. And some of them will be tense. But I feel like an aggro deck into a Luke deck is always going to be intense because of that healing and because the lingering redemption heal 8 play.
Redemption is kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, well, even more ridiculous when it costs 7 and you also played resupply and you're like playing it on 6. I mean, you're probably not as health threatened by then, but it's won me so many games of unlimited.
Parker also asked, who needs to cook? I'm not exactly sure what that means.
Who needs to cook?
Who needs to cook? Yeah.
Parker said this, huh?
Yeah.
I got nothing. Who needs to cook? Me. I'm not allowed to cook in my house, so I need to cook. My wife does all the cooking. She doesn't like when I make food. I'm only allowed to cook for the kids.
Cool. That was all I had planned for tonight. You know, talking about your jump into Star Wars Unlimited, what makes you interested about it, trying to pick your brain and as a successful competitive player. So, anything else you have or wanted to touch on tonight?
No, I just wanted to shout out that I'm going to start making some content under like the name, the KTOD, which is my Star Wars CCG team name. So we started a YouTube channel, SWU SWU _ KTOD. And I'm sure you'll, you know, if you're interested in that kind of gameplay content and deck content, I'll be posting in the Facebook and the Discords that you mentioned. So I'm going to be dabbling into content. I'm not going to go as hard as I did in the Hyperloops days. And I'm also like not interested in being a partnered content creator. So I'm like just going to be the only guy making, me and my brother are going to be the only guys making TTS content. So,
well, very cool. I look forward to it.
Thanks, man. And thanks for having me.
Is it up now?
So the site is launched. We haven't dropped any videos. Probably, depending on when you drop this on Friday, we'll have 3 or 4 gameplay videos up within 24 hours of this podcast coming out.
All right. So I'll link the YouTube channel since it's up in the show notes.
I appreciate it, brother.
Yeah, I appreciate you having on. I appreciate your time. I appreciate everything you did for the Hyperloops. You know, you were part of the reason I got into Star Wars Destiny.
Thanks, man. That means a lot.
And I appreciated everything you guys did for the Hyperloop, like through the Hyperloops and for the community. So
yeah,
thank you for that.
Thanks for mentioning that the other day. It made me listen to so many old podcasts that I hadn't listened to in years. Just all my guest appearances on Tiny Grimes took a while.
Yeah. I tried to find, so it's the only, you did an interview with Mr. Chip, like right after Worlds, where so you could clear the air about like, you know what, dude, like that whole.
Oh my God, I forgot about that.
But that one's not, I can't find that one anywhere.
Doesn't exist anymore?
No, it's the only one that I can't find. Yeah.
That's right. Chip gave me I forgot about that. Chip gave me an opportunity to explain my side of the story. What a hero. What a hero. That meant a lot to me because I was the one that swore, I was automatically
I
the
find
bad
your
guy.
lack of faith.
Wrong one. Sorry. Hit the wrong one. Sorry.
Happens.
But yeah, Chip, shout out to Mr. Chip.
Shout out to
Everybody
Mr. Chip
wants
if
you
you're
back,
out there.
Mr. Chip.
Yeah, you're a good dude. You're a real one.
All right, so I got nothing else. Thanks for joining us, and
This is Tyler Parrott from FFG. We will see you in the arenas.